Thank you, Elizabeth.
Take it away.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I am ready with my glass of sparkling protein. I'm motivated to incorporate it into my day. Okay, so I get to talk a little bit today about what makes sparkling protein different. So that's our sparkling protein Shaklee difference. And there are really three big things that set Shaklee sparkling protein apart. The first one, and I'll go into details on each of these in just a minute, but the first is the type and the amount of protein. So as Elizabeth mentioned, sparkling protein has 40 grams of protein. And that protein, it comes from a very, very specific whey protein fraction called beta-lactoglobulin, or BLG for short. And then the second thing that sets it apart is that sparkling protein is clinically tested. I know I've said this before. This is not something that most companies or any companies are doing. We actually did a clinical study to show how sparkling protein works in your body and really demonstrate its superiority. And then that last thing that really highlights the Shaklee difference for sparkling protein is that it's clean and safe. And I'll start with this last one. Every single batch of sparkling protein goes through 199 tests. So 199 tests for safety and quality. And that includes tests for heavy metals, tests for contaminants. The product is also, it's just free of artificial ingredients. It has no artificial sweeteners, no fillers, no unnecessary additives. It's lightly sweetened. And again, with only natural ingredients. And then plus, it's powered by that protein I just mentioned, this ultra clean, sustainably sourced protein. Okay, so I want to now talk just a little bit about the protein, the superior protein that powers the Shaklee sparkling protein. So I want to start with the basics. Sparkling protein contains whey protein, so whey protein, but it's not just any whey, because source matters. That whey in sparkling protein, it comes from the milk that's produced by very, very carefully selected grass-fed European cows. So European cows that are grass-fed, and then those cows, they're raised on open pastures and they meet incredibly high standards for animal care and then of course for milk quality. But here's what makes the whey that we use different. I didn't know about this, maybe some of you did, but whey it's not just one thing. It's not just one protein. It's actually made up of several different fractions. So there's beta-lactoglobulin, which I teased and said that's what we used, or BLG. There's also alpha-lactoglobulin, and then there's a small portion of whey that contains compounds that your body really doesn't need. And sparkling protein, as I mentioned, it uses that BLG fraction. And why do we use this fraction? We use this fraction because it is the purest, and it also is the most amino-rich acid. It's the most amino acid rich part of whey protein. Okay, so you'll see here, it naturally contains more of all of the essential amino acids your body uses to build proteins. So compared to standard whey, that's on the right, it has a higher percentage of total essential amino acids. It actually has 60% more of all essential amino acids than a standard whey protein does. And it has 86% more. So that's almost double the amount of leucine. So almost two times more of leucine than a standard whey protein does. So you're probably asking, why is this important? Why does this matter? And Elizabeth alluded to this, but when we eat protein, what our body does is it breaks it down into those amino acids. And then those amino acids are used to build all the proteins in your body. So the ones that keep your muscles strong, the ones that keep your joints and skin healthy, and the ones that support all the different things in your body, like hormones and antibodies. So in other words, what sparkling protein does is it's making your protein work harder for you so that each sip is actually going towards building and repairing all of those body proteins that you need. And then one other final reason why we use and chose BLG is because it actually works really, really well in a lightly flavored sparkling drink. So it dissolves super easily, it stays crystal clear, and then it has a very neutral taste. And part of the reason for that is because of how we get that BLG. So first, the way that we source from the milk of those grass-fed cows, it goes through this very, very gentle multi-step process that allows us to remove the fat, allows us to remove the lactose. And what that leaves behind is just protein. So you're just getting protein with sparkling protein. And then what we do is we use water and these really, really fine, ultra fine filters. We use no harsh chemicals to really isolate and concentrate that BLG fraction. So what the end result is that BLG protein, it's pure, it's just protein, it's packed with amino acids. And then because of that, it's really easy for your body to digest and actually use. Okay, you can go to the next slide now, Kathy. Okay, so I'm going to talk really quickly about the clinical study. So we partnered with BioFortis Research, and this is a third-party research organization. And the purpose of this study was to see how sparkling protein actually works in our body. So here's what BioFortis did is they had participants come into a clinical site, and what those participants did is they drank just one single can of sparkling protein. So the goal of this study was to really see what happens in our body right after drinking just one can of sparkling protein. And what researchers did in order to do this is they took blood samples from those participants who drank the sparkling protein. They took it right before they drank it, and then they took it again 30 minutes, an hour and a half, and 2 hours after they drank that can of sparkling protein. And what they did is they used those blood samples to look at two key things. So the first thing they looked at is amino acids. So what we did is we measured how quickly the amino acids from sparkling protein appear in your blood. And we also measured how much they rose above baseline. So what this tells us is how quickly and how long your body has access to those building blocks from the protein you just drank to build and repair all those body proteins. And then the second thing they did is they used that blood to measure GLP-1. And that's, again, that gut hormone that signals to your brain that you've eaten and it helps you feel full. So if you go to that previous slide, Kathy, I'll go into the details here. So first, what they found with the amino acids is that blood levels of those amino acids, they started to rise really quickly. So you'll see that within 30 minutes, they rose quickly, and then they kept increasing for up to an hour and a half, reaching an impressive 291% increase above baseline. So that's almost a 4-fold increase in those amino acids in your blood. So what that tells us is that protein in sparkling protein, it's absorbed fast, it's absorbed quickly, but it's also absorbed effectively. And it's giving our body really quick, fast access to those amino acids it needs to build and repair all those important body proteins. And then the other thing is that quick spike, but then combined with that those sustained levels, what that does is that gives our body this larger window to use those amino acids. So I know a lot of people have asked, like, can I actually use all 40 grams? So because we have that longer window, those 2 hours where those amino acids are increased, our body can actually use all 40 grams of that protein. And then next, we can look at the results for GLP-1. So you'll see here that sparkling protein triggered a natural increase in GLP-1. Natural is really important here. You've all probably heard about GLP-1 medications, right? So how they work is by imitating GLP-1. So in other words, what they do is they act like GLP-1 to send that signal to your brain that you've eaten and that you're full. But what is exciting about sparkling protein is that it actually helps your body naturally produce more of its own GLP-1. So you'll see here that in this study, we saw GLP-1 levels, they rose quickly, and they continued to increase for 2 hours. So 2 full hours, the GLP-1 levels were elevated, and they reached 47% increase above baseline. And then if you go to the next slide, that signal, it also was getting to the participants because we saw that participants reported feeling the effects of that GLP-1. So within 30 minutes, about 90% of participants had little or no desire to eat. And after an hour, all participants reported having little or no desire to eat. So every single person who was in this study reported feeling little or no desire to eat. And I think I've seen a couple of chats in the question. We have a white paper for you all that you will have access to that shares all the details of this study that you can dive into and share with potential customers. So just really quickly to summarize, I know that was a lot. What exactly does all of this mean? So it means sparkling protein it's more than just a high protein drink. Okay, it's made from a carefully selected fraction of whey, that BLG that's filtered. That filtering helps to keep it pure. It's just protein. We know it's rich, way richer in all those essential amino acids, especially leucine, than standard whey. And then it's backed by clinical data. And that clinical data shows us that those amino acids they're absorbed quickly. They stay available for a long time so that our body can actually use it. And then on top of that, it helps you feel satisfied for hours. And that is our Shaklee difference.